So as an inventor, I've always felt a strong connection to Flint Lockwood, and the slide, yeah, there we go. Okay. So he's a young inventor struck down numerous times by his peers, eventually finding something to make him famous. However, his story goes awry, and that's how we end up with a classic story of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs instead of a boring story about a successful inventor. So the movie was released in 2009, directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. It was nominated for 1 Golden Globe Award for the Best Animated Feature Film, but it lost to Up in 2010. Cloudy with a Chance made $243 million on a budget of $100 million, so it was a huge success. In 1978, the original book was written, and I'm sure many of us have heard it in elementary school or any sort of activity, including me. I used to love the book, and it was a story about a little island, Chew and Swallow, where all the food they ate rained from the sky. The weather would hit 3 times a day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but then the weather got crazy, and the townspeople had to abandon the island for the sake of their lives. From then on, no one ever went back, and the people of Chew and Swallow had adjusted to buying food at the supermarket. The book is always better than the movie, right? Well, sometimes the book and the movie are both really good, and they just differ. These two pieces of media differ in many ways. In the book, a grandfather was telling the story about Chew and Swallow, but in the movie, an inventor invents the Flint Lockwood diatonic super mutating dynamic food replicator, or the Flirtishmurfer, that turns water molecules into food. With this major difference in mind, many things were also kept the same. So the production team followed through with many iconic scenes from the book. Here you can see some of my comparisons that we'll go through. So starting off, the major hamburger scene. In the book, it rains hamburgers for the first time. And in the movie, it also rains hamburgers. And that's when they figured out that the Flirtishmurfer actually worked. So next we have Sam's Jell-O Fortress. That was the same in the book as it was the movie. And then, I lost my place, hold on 1 second. So the fortress held sculptures David and Venus de Milo out of Jell-O. It had Jell-O and a fish tank made out of Jell-O. And then the sanitization systems to clean up all the food afterwards were also the same in the book and the movie. So they were the same with the same forks, spoons, plates. Everything that they did seemed to be the same. So the pancake, one of my favorite parts of the movie, pancake falls in the school, and in the same way as it does in the book, and hooray, there's no school because no one can move the large pancake. So there's also a spaghetti tornado, and this is the same, and it's what kind of kickstarts some of the horrific weather patterns. It kickstarts the ending of the movie. And it's also an allusion to The Wizard of Oz, because Dorothy gets stuck in a tornado, and Flint actually goes into the tornado, and it's a cool sequence. So after the spaghetti tornado, then they try to escape because Chew and Swallow is no longer safe. And they use, in the book and the movie, they use bread boats. And the original author actually Judi Barrett said that the outcome was mind-boggling that they kept so many things the same. The book then, after it was written, had 2 sequels, Pickles to Pittsburgh and The Planet of the Pies. So after both books were successful with young audiences, the movie came out in 2009. That's the second one. And then it was followed by a sequel all about their leftovers on a separate island, which you can see the poster there. And then it was followed by a Cartoon Network TV series that lasted 2 seasons. So the idea of raining food seems to be a hit. So in the movie, there are a few main stars. Bill Hader as Flint Lockwood, our main character, and Anna Faris as a secondary main character and love interest, Sam Sparks. Mr. T was Earl, the police officer who loved his son so much, and Andy Samberg was Baby Brent. But my favorite actor in the movie was Neil Patrick Harris. And we need to flip the slide now, because I forgot to add that in. It was Neil Patrick Harris who played Steve the Talking Monkey. Speaking only 1 or 2 words at a time, Steve seems like a forgotten role in Cloudy with a Chance. But he was chosen by Neil Patrick Harris because he was originally offered the role of Flint, but turned it down because the monkey seemed more interesting. Some other interesting choices were made in the making of this movie, like music. The end credits have Miranda Cosgrove's Raining Sunshine, but originally the crew wanted to use Electric Light Orchestra's song Xanadu from the movie of the same name. The catchy tune and the upbeat guitar makes for a great end credit song, but they couldn't find who owned the rights to Xanadu, so Raining Sunshine was used instead. And it sounds familiar. Both of these songs sound very much alike. They use a lot of the same beats and tempos and time signatures. So it's cool to listen to those in comparison, and I had them, but then my speaker died. So definitely check out both of those songs and compare them. Sounds are also very important to an animated film. They add realism to the squishy and unrealistic characters. In Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, they had to create many new sound effects for things that have never been done before. In particular, they had to create the iconic scene of the hamburgers falling on the dock, which they actually used wet paper towels and slammed them on the floor and recorded the squishing noise, which is kind of gross. But they're innovative, right? I guess you could say they were channeling their inner Flint. The makers of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs never failed to insert Easter eggs of past inventors, like the posters in Flint's room resembling Alexander Graham Bell, you can see it over there, who is the inventor of the telephone, and his poster that reads, Nikola Tesla, rock star scientist. The makers of the movies even modeled his laboratory after the famous Nikola Tesla's lab, Wardenclyffe Tower. So the tower was the first wireless transmission station, which was basically cell phones, how he came up with the idea for wireless communication. And it was built in 1901, and these allusions to other inventors made Flint's passion for creation seem so much more real. His past failed inventions included things like rat birds, remote control TVs that walked away from you, and spray-on shoes that he couldn't get off. But the Flügelschiffer was the only invention to work at first, but it still went astray in the end. But I won't spoil it for you. You'll have to watch and find out how Flint saves the day from his invention in the next 90 minutes. Prepare to get served, which is the tagline from the movie.